Hey, welcome to TokuTalkers. I'm sick, but I'm also Buster, and
Hmm.
with me is my co-host Wyatt. And today we're going to talk about episode 11 of GoZyuger, Unleash the Wild. The Beastmaster plays his flute. I guess to start off, Wyatt, what did you think of the episode?
I thought it was a solid episode, though a bit of a downturn after the how good the previous one was. So it's a more of a. It's also kind of a setup episode for
Yeah,
like
because it's
something
a
cooler
two-part.
happening.
This is the first part of a two-parter. I was actually considering
Yeah.
both because of my deathly sickness over the last few days,
Mm-hmm.
and because it's a two-parter. That I should wait a couple weeks before we do we do both episodes. But we can do both because I still
Yeah,
feel
I
like there's some
think.
stuff to talk about here.
Yeah, this one probably stands on its own just as well. Very. It reminds me just right off the bat. It reminds me of the Dora Franken episode of Ranger, where like it begins with like, oh, here's this comedy, it's a Frankenstein monster, whoa, haha, and then it ends and he turns into some horrific like zombie monster.
Yeah,
It was like, oh my god. And then
yeah.
that sets up like the arc where they get like their ultimate mecha combo. Um,
But you mentioned it being kind of a downturn, and there might be an example, not explanation. I don't want
sure,
to
yeah.
blame it. I don't want to blame it on because this is not written by Akihiko Inoue. This is the first
Hmm.
episode of the show to be written by a different writer,
Okay.
specifically Tatsuto Higuchi, who previously his previous Sentai credits include just Boon Boonjer, so he's
Okay.
a relative newcomer.
Hmm.
But it's it's good to see him. Like, yeah, he had some solid Boom Boonger episodes under his belt. So
Hmm.
it's nice to
Hmm.
see him get more into it. And it's like he's done you can kind of tell it's less antagon. I feel like his writing is less antagonistic than because this feels like
Sure.
a very traditional Sentai episode to me. And
Yeah.
I kind of like that about GoZuger because it's like sometimes there'll be a traditional Sentai, sometimes they won't be. It's just kind of these flipping allegiances. And I think that's
Yeah.
kind of cool. Um,
Yeah, this one sort of just it doesn't really get into the like you said the more antagonistic angle of the show, the more like nitty-gritty of it. It is just kind of like, oh yeah, these guys, they're hanging out, they're fighting everything. And then even the no one of this episode, like his game is very basic to the
yeah,
point where Hoiru calls it out as like, didn't we already do this in a previous episode with Tokonatsu? Where it's just like, oh, they're playing a game of tag or Onigoko, which is just the Japanese version of tag. Um, and which I'm not like whatever. I'm angry or anything. I'm fine with them doing if something is super straightforward. It's just that like it's one of those things where by the end they definitely don't care and feel they're just like whatever, and he just
yeah.
beats
They
him
they
up.
literally have a
It's,
little they have the big monologue of the episode. You know, like your Sentai monologue being like, yeah, I could do the thing. Literally be like, who cares about the rules of tag? I'm gonna beat your ass. Like that's literally the end of the monologue.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's only the I guess we can also talk about there's three universe warriors in this episode. Two of them
Yes.
are a gag, like
Mm-hmm.
the Zhuoger and Sun Vulcan warriors,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny because I just finished writing a script about Zhuoger, so that's gonna be
Oh yeah. How did you? Well, I guess I won't spoil the video, but
yeah. But
yeah, there you go.
I did enjoy it. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
Um,
I've only seen probably like a little bit past where Show of the World showed up. And then I kind of fell off like when it was airing, which is happens all the time with Sentai, especially like there's a couple of shows like Ninja. I kind of fell off maybe like 15 episodes in and stuff like that.
yeah, that era of Sentai was kind of I. I'll talk about. We could talk about it another day, but
Yeah, yeah.
um,
I mean, Ninja had the dubious honor of
yeah.
coming right after my favorite
Oh
Sentai at
yeah,
that time. So with
TokuTalkers, yeah.
yeah, so you know,
And I will I'll put it. I do not like Sun Vulcan. If you want to ask my opinion on that,
sure.
I think it might be my least favorite
How do you feel
Sentai.
about Gao Ranger though? Have you
Oh, I
seen
have
that?
not watched that one yet. I
Ooh,
probably will get to it
it's
this
very
year, but
good.
yeah,
In
and
my opinion, like I know some people are like, oh, this is kind of like the the end of the classic era, the end of that like peak '90s era with like everything through Time Ranger. But I feel like Gal Ranger should still be in the conversation there, even with its it transitioning to more digital camera like
Yeah, I know. Like
video
that's the
work and stuff
first
like that.
like
Yeah,
major CG Zords mecha
yeah,
stuff.
hmm
I will say, I can really only talk about like the Universe Warrior Gal Red here. I do
yes,
I quite enjoy like I recognize like it also just made me realize Wild Force just completely ripped Gal Ranger sounds hold sail, which is kind of
sure,
funny. Uh, because I recognize like a lot of his sound effects. I was like, oh yeah, like Wild Force had those. I was like, oh, by the extension, that's probably what Gal Ranger had.
yeah.
Um,
I think yeah, Wild Force was one of those shows where they really played it pretty close to the Sentai.
yeah,
Because I remember when I
from
was watching Gal Ranger, I was like, wow, this really is just Wild Force really was.
yeah, like
like there's
Time
some
Ranger and Gal
different
Ranger were basically just complete cop. Well, we can get into my Time Force hot takes another
sure.
day, but like, yeah,
Yeah.
but like I do
You're
enjoy this like Beast Tamer, especially like how
mhm.
he has like different like especially how they play around with the Zhuoger aspect because one of
Yeah.
Zhuo Eagle's like things is like being able to transform into 3 different forms, and so
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
he's specifically taming the eagle part, so like when like using the Zhuo ring, they just
Mhm.
like they go gorilla, so they
Yeah.
could and he's like scrambling, and the
He's like,
Beast
"Oh
Tamer
crap."
scrambling, be
Yeah,
like,
that was
oh,
super
like
cool.
yeah,
Mhm.
um, just like it's a fine enough episode. I am very interested to see next episode, um, mainly because like it's just okay, we're getting into more like okay, we're fully I don't know. Like it just like
Yeah.
we're getting more in depth with the Universe Warrior instead of just like oh he's a gag because this feel like a very gaggy episode despite
Yeah,
there's
that
neat
yeah, gag kind of gimmicky with the whole like, oh, he's making them go crazy and become like animals and whatever, and then which does lead to a good scene with Sumino in like a office building or whatever, like in a
yeah that
hotel,
was funny
and then she like rears up like a horse, and then like her bucking the monster
yeah like
like
a
off the roof.
unicorn yeah
Yeah, it's just like very like
yeah.
that's funny, like yeah,
Also,
there's
Mikio's bit
funny
at the
stuff.
beginning with the other 2 Universe Warriors was like really like God
Mhm.
like that was really he's my favorite one so I always like seeing like
Yeah.
any little bit of him um
Yeah, I was happy about that, and I would say, for me as a Gal Ranger fan, and I think like even you can appreciate it as somebody who's only seen Wild Force, but the monster, his form that he takes at the end of the episode is
oh
very
yeah
evocative of Roki. The like
the
monster,
Zenaku, I think they call him in
yeah,
Wild Force.
yeah, the who turns into the Silver Ranger. Um, and he is so cool in that show. Like he is just so absurdly cool. Wolf guy with a horn, and the glowing yellow eyes and the like crescent
Yeah.
moon blade and everything. So like it's not the same exact suit, but it's just like very
Yeah,
much a
evocative.
reference
Yeah.
of, and then especially like in the next episode preview, I was like, oh yeah, they're really leaning into it. He's throwing like crescent moon slashes and
Hey,
doing
even his
everything.
weapon in like the end of the episode just looks like Zenaku slash
Yeah.
Hiroki's weapon.
Yeah, and the Universe Warrior Gaia, like he even calls him like a one-horned beast. So like it's clearly like oh that they're making a reference to Gal Ranger, which is cool. Also, another Gal Ranger reference is when Hoiru beats Gaia, like he like drags him across the ground,
Oh
which is
yeah, like
like that's like
that's
the
very evocative of
signature
the
move.
choreography there. Yeah.
Mhm. So good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit more of a simpler episode, but hey, you need your simpler ones to truly appreciate the big, like climactic or like real
Mhm.
like emotional gut punches, or even just the really funny episodes. You need like your more
Yeah.
basic, like you gotta eat your vegetables before you can eat your meats.
Mhm.
I don't know the exact
Sure,
thing.
yeah. You gotta have both,
Yeah, both.
like
Yeah,
at
you
the
got balance.
yeah. The ideal is to have them both side by side, to have like an episode that can combine the both. That's why I really felt with like the previous episode was like really funny, but it was also very touching and,
Yeah.
exciting and everything. Even though it
Also,
didn't
wait.
have much like plot relevance, it was just like a
Yeah.
very entertaining episode.
Yeah.
Uh
Oh, I forgot to mention. This in the next episode is the first time Koichi Sakamoto is directing something for GoZyuger. And he's
Oh,
like a
cool.
very prolific tokusatsu director, both in Power Rangers and of course Sentai. Like these days, um, I like it's like I've kind of been mixed on him in recent years. But I do think that these episodes are a good showing of his talent. Like you can very much tell, like with all the explosions and like high jump and waterworks, that is him. Like if you know his work.
Yeah, I will. I guess the only other thing that I want to bring up that I only touched on is that I was pretty disappointed that their solution to beating the monster is just Haru being like, "Shut up! I'm gonna just beat the crap out of you," because
Yeah,
it's
there wasn't really like a clever solution. Again, like what we mentioned at the near the beginning of the podcast, where it's just like, oh, they literally just like get sick of his bullshit and just be like, I'm just gonna beat you up and do a cool Tekken combo.
Yeah, which is cool. Like that is cool, and it does. I think it just if they like it could have been funny. It's just it wasn't. It didn't land as well as I had hoped it would.
Yeah.
And it just kind of was like, okay, whatever. We're just getting to the end of this episode because this guy is kind of a throwaway villain to set up a more dangerous threat that's going to come in the next episode.
Also, I will. I to before anyone comments this. I just Sakamoto did direct a lot of episodes of Power Rangers Wild Force back in the day, so there.
Oh, cool! Yeah, there is a connection.
Yeah, there is a connection of like why they got. It was like, hey, he did do the American version of this. So,
but yeah, I think that's all I got to say about this episode.
Yeah.
It's a solid one. It's a nice like mild like 3 out of 5, right down the middle. Don't like rating episodes really.
Yeah,
but, but that's it's like that definition of the like it's pretty good, like not blowing me away, but it's like
it's probably the weakest episode of the show so far, like in the grand scheme of things. But like, I still felt like I still enjoyed myself, like and like I feel like
I clapped at all the Gal Ranger stuff. So.
Yeah, it's the most self-indulgent. Self-indulgent, the right word with all the references. Maybe the most self-indulgent like episode so far.
Yeah,
in terms of like being an anniversary. I don't know. Either way, plug your stuff, Wyatt.
Go on over to Twitter and Bluesky, Wasp Ranger, WACP Ranger. It's mostly stream of consciousness stuff, but I do post about podcasts I'm in or videos I'm doing. So check that out. This month, I'll be plugging in the next couple episodes. I'm working on 2 videos. One for my main channel about Stugo, and then one for my Metroid channel about the emotional journey I've taken on the road to Metroid Prime 4. So look out for those videos on It's Only Magic, my main YouTube channel, and Planet Zebez. Also, if you want to listen to a very long and rambling podcast with me and my friend Morgan about cartoons, go check out Cartoon Buffoons. Go to my Patreon. $3, you can get the episodes a week early. Go and check that out. We just did this week was My Gym Partner's a Monkey for the Patreon, and then on the free feed it was Rugrats All Grown Up. So
the ending your Nickelodeon April Fool's event.
Yes.
I guess for me, hi, I'm Buster. I mentioned this earlier in the episode, but I am currently working on a GoZyuger video because that's the next part of the Super Sentai retrospective year thing, whatever we're calling it. But yeah, it's been a bit like it's been a month since the Loopat video, so it's like I gotta get back on the grind. And yes, I've still been watching Showa Sentai. I finished Changeman. It was you'll hear my okay. I'm gonna just say this right off the bat. The reason I haven't made videos on the Showa Sentai, I'm planning to like group them all into like one video.
Okay.
Because there's only so much I can say about like Changeman and like Dynaman when I like they kind of I swear it really says decent. But anyway. Stay tuned for like all sorts of Super Sentai videos on my channel, and also just like on Modular. We're gonna do TokuTalkers every week. Gotta keep talking GoZyuger. I can also confirm, yes, we will be covering other Toku as they air. So when Ultraman Omega starts up, we'll be including it in the show. Cool. And whatever the next Kamen Rider is, we will probably include that, depending on like. But for now, we'll just stick with Omega since that's upcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could just like subscribe to the channel for more podcasts. Subscribe to our channels for our own little shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's gonna do it for this TokuTalkers. We'll see you next week for GoZyuger episode 12.
Bye bye.